How does an ancient faith, one that's often seen as really passive and, a bit otherworldly, completely re-engineer itself for the 21st century? Well, today we're diving into the incredible blueprint that was created by one of Buddhism's most influential modern figures, Master Hsing Yun, to do exactly that. And this brings us to a huge question, right? In an age of science, of nonstop progress and constant change, how can a religion that's 2,500 years old, like Buddhism, actually stay relevant? Is it just destined to become a museum piece, or can it adapt? So here's how we're going to break it all down today. We'll kick things off with the huge challenge Buddhism was up against. Then we'll get into the radical way it was redefined. From there, we'll look at how its practices were totally transformed, how this new vision was actually built, and finally, what it all means for us, right now. Okay, let's set the stage. First up, the central conflict, this massive clash between traditional Buddhism and all the pressures of our modern world. For centuries, a lot of big thinkers, like the famous sociologist Max Weber, argued that Buddhism was just fundamentally incompatible with progress. It got labeled as superstitious, escapist, totally focused on the afterlife. Basically, it was seen as a drag on society, a religion that told people to check out from the world instead of trying to improve it. So Master Hsing Yun's response to all this was just fascinating. Instead of trying to invent a whole new Buddhism, he argued that modern values, things like rationality and humanism, were actually already at its core. They just needed to be uncovered. See, this wasn't about changing the religion. It was framed more like a spiritual spring cleaning. The whole mission was to strip away centuries of cultural baggage, all the superstitions and myths, to get back to the rational, practical, and human-centered roots that he believed were there all along. And this new foundation? It was built on 6 key pillars. It defined Buddhism as rational, not superstitious. It was grounded in a real historical person, not some mythical god. And, this is crucial, it became about solving the problems of this life, right here, right now. This was a faith that was meant to be based on wisdom and understanding, not just blind belief. And to make sure this new rationality stuck, he pointed to something already inside Buddhism, its own built-in logic check, the 3 seals of Dharma. Think of it like a simple test for authenticity. If any teaching goes against these core truths, that everything is always changing, that nothing has a fixed self, and that freedom from suffering is possible, then it's just not the real deal. It's a really powerful tool for separating core philosophy from cultural superstition. Okay, so you've got this new rational definition in place. The next logical question has to be, how does the actual practice of the religion change? What do people do differently? And wow, the pivot in focus was just dramatic. We're talking about a shift from doing rituals for the dead to providing education and service for the living, from praying for some kind of divine help to actually taking direct action, and from being obsessed with the afterlife to being committed to improving this life, right here in our own communities. This really nails the core shift, doesn't it? It's moving away from a religion that's purely about an individual's personal salvation and toward one of collective responsibility. The big question became, how can we all work together to make society better for everyone? So we've got the philosophy, and we've got the new priorities. But how do you actually build it? Well, these principles were put into practice through 4 key areas of modernization. The strategy itself was incredibly practical. Use global languages to break down cultural barriers. Use modern tech, the internet, TV, you name it, to spread the teachings. Make spiritual practice something you do in your everyday life, not just in some special building. And finally, and this is a big one, completely rethink what a temple is even for. The temple itself was totally transformed. It went from being this secluded, quiet place for monks into an open community hub for everybody. It became a school, an art gallery, a social service center. The fundamental change was this. It went from being supported by society to actively contributing to society. You can really see the new priorities when you look at the functions of a modern temple. I mean, sure, spiritual practice is still important, but look at this. Education and community service absolutely dominate, making up 60% of what the temple does. It's a multi-purpose institution that's really designed to serve the public. So, what's the end game in all of this? What's the ultimate goal of this massive transformation? Let's bring it all together. The whole mission becomes fundamentally optimistic and worldly. The goal is no longer about trying to escape this world to get to a better place after you die. It's about applying timeless principles to make this world, our world, a more compassionate, more harmonious, and more enlightened place, a pure land on earth. Honestly, if you take just one thing away from all of this, let it be this quote. It just perfectly captures the entire philosophy. You don't mess with the core wisdom. The doctrine stays traditional, but you have to relentlessly innovate the methods you use to share it and to put it into practice.
In the end, what we're looking at here is a blueprint. It's a blueprint for transforming a religion from what was seen as a social burden into an active, positive force for social good. It's a model for an engaged faith that's ready to tackle real-world problems head-on. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In our constant search for new solutions to modern challenges, from social division to personal anxiety, what can we learn from reimagining our oldest and most profound traditions?